Okay, so I literally just finished the recording of the webinar and realized I forgot to click the record button. So I'm going to quickly run through the slides for everyone who couldn't make it to the live webinar, and I must set a reminder to actually record it tomorrow. So yeah, we had a lot more kind of like interaction when there was 4 or 5 people within the room. So as I said, hopefully I do just as good a job when it is just me. So let's start the screen share. Okay, so let's go to the first page. So webinar number 1 is all about how to calculate a calorie deficit. So if you are trying to drop body fat, then you have to create a calorie deficit. It's as simple as that. No matter what dieting protocol that you decide to do, if you are not in a calorie deficit, it's a law of thermodynamics. Body fat is a store of energy. If more energy goes in than is coming out, then you're going to put on body fat. You have to have more energy going out than is coming in. How you decide to do that is completely up to you. It's just a fundamental rule of dieting that more energy has to come out than go in. Do you have to calorie count to do that? No, you do not. More energy just has to go out than come in. So today I'm going to be running through calculating your BMR and what BMR is, how to add in an activity multiplier, the thermic effect of food, why you want to pick a deficit, how to track your progress, and then how to adjust as necessary. So your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate, is simply the minimum amount of calories you need every single day to survive. So if you just woke up and didn't move for the entire day, this is the amount of calories your body would burn without moving, without activating your muscles, essentially. So you can quite easily Google a BMR calculator, and there's dozens out there, and they all come up with a very similar figure. A lot of them, you're going to have to put in your height, weight, age, gender. There's lots of different things that it can calculate. Whereas I got given this one when I was at university by my nutrition lecturer, and it has seen me through just because it takes into account those things without directly taking them into account. So it's fat-free mass multiplied by 22 plus 500. So the reason why it takes these things into account is if you are male, you will naturally hold more muscle mass than a female, in which case your BMR is probably going to be slightly higher. As we age, our amount of muscle mass is also going to be decreasing. So it's taken into account the age factor as well. So to figure out your fat-free mass, it's body weight minus body fat percentage. So there are a few different ways you can kind of figure this out. For the majority of my clients, I just get them to send me across photos, and because I have been doing this for coming up to 9 years now, I can normally assess people's body fat kind of just looking at photos now. And this gives us a baseline figure. So as a health professional, I do not like to bring calories below BMR. The reason behind this is if you drop your calories below BMR, you will start to find your immune system becomes a little bit compromised, and you'll start to pick up coughs, colds, little niggling illnesses. That's just basically when your calories drop down that low, your body's going to shut down non-essential systems, which includes the ability to fight off infection. So your activity multiplier, right? The reason we have to look at this is if you have somebody who, say, for example, is a postal worker and they're doing 25,000 steps every day as part of their job, and you compare that person to somebody who is working at a desk and does 3,000 every single day, do you think those people are going to burn the same amount of energy? Of course not. The person who is sat at a desk all day is going to be on way less energy expenditure than the person who's doing 25,000 steps every day. So we factor this in by tracking your steps. So most of you probably have a mobile phone. So on iPhones, it's the iHealth app. On Android, it is I think you can get Google Fit, or if you've got Samsung, you've got Samsung Health. There's loads of different pedometer apps that you can download that use the accelerometer in your phone and turn it into a pedometer. You've got a Fitbit, again, that's more accurate, but what you're looking at is as long as it's kind of like consistently accurate. So for example, if you've got your mobile phone on you throughout the day, but for an hour or two every day it's sat on your desk or it's sat somewhere while you're still walking, then as long as it's pretty consistent, if you make changes to the amount of steps that you are doing each day, again, as long as you're using the same thing to measure it, the change is also going to be accounted for. Or a simple change would be, I've just got to keep my phone on me longer, so it tracks more of them. However, the wearables, you can pick up a really cheap wearable pedometer watch for like 20 quid nowadays. So if you're really that bothered about it, just invest in a cheap pedometer, and it takes all the guessing out of it. So lightly active, we multiply by 1.375. Moderately active, we do 1.55. And very active is 1.75, but that can go up as 2.5, depending on how active the kind of person is. For example, professional athletes, some of them are eating like 10,000 calories a day. So TEF, or the thermic effect of food. The thermic effect of food is the energy required for absorption and disposable of ingested nutrients. Basically, food goes into your mouth. As you chew it, as it goes down, the smooth muscle that's lining all your organs that helps push it through, the production of the stomach acid, the bile, all that kind of stuff that helps break it down, that requires energy to be able to do that process. So each food group requires a different amount of energy. Fats require the least, so you get the most energy out of that, because literally as it breaks it down, your body just lops off the free fatty acids and then it goes into the system. Carbohydrates then require the second least amount. Basically, our body is very efficient at using carbohydrates and fats as energy sources. That's what we're designed to do. And then proteins take 20 to 35% of the energy absorbed to be able to consume it. This is why diets like the Atkins diet and stuff work so well, because one, protein will make you feel really full really quickly, and two, it takes almost twice as much energy to break down protein as it does carbohydrates. So it's limiting then the amount of energy that goes into your system, even though you're feeling full. So for an easy way of life, we just add 10%. So that's the average of basically all of how a diet is going to be set up. You then want to pick a deficit. So why do we want to pick a deficit? Well, you basically are picking how much you want to suffer. So for me personally, I've just done a 6-week mini cut. So I train for bodybuilding. Therefore, my goals are probably going to be slightly different to your goals. So for me, I wanted to pull as much body fat off me as quick as possible so that I could get back into a gaining phase as quickly as possible. I don't mind giving up things like alcohol, desserts, going out for meals, going out for drinks on a weekend with friends, because that's the choice that I'm making. But I could have gone for a lot less aggressive deficit and employed flexible dieting. Get down, Sky. Employed flexible dieting, and therefore it wouldn't have been as disruptive on my lifestyle, and therefore I could have still gone out and socialized. You can still have a beer with your meals of an evening and still lose body fat. So the average you want to be looking to do is you want to drop 1% body fat or 1% body weight per week, plus or minus 0.5%. So if you weigh 100 kilos, you're looking at 0.5 kilo to 1.5 kilos each week. If you do that for 10 weeks, you've dropped an average of 10 kilos. So obviously this will change week to week, and the lighter you are, the less body weight you should be looking to shift each week. It's a percentage. So these next 2 points are where the average person tends to go wrong. So you need to track your progress. If you go online and buy a cookie cutter program, this is where these fall down as well, because they're not tracking progress and they're making adjustments for if you're making progress or not. So there's 4 things you want to be tracking. You want to be tracking your weight and then taking progress photos. So your weight, not everybody deals well with tracking weight. So if you're one of those people, you probably don't want to do that. You'd probably be better off doing progress photos. On progress photos, at the end of the day, if your goal is aesthetic and you want to look and feel better, tracking your photos and seeing what's happening with your body composition is going to be one of the best ways to track your progress. The next thing, as I said earlier, you want to be tracking your steps so that you can then make changes to your general activity levels. If you're only doing 4,000 steps per day, you're going to see massive body composition changes by jumping that up to 8,000 per day. You then want to be tracking your calories. As I said, tracking your calories in and out is one of the easiest ways to flexibly diet, because then it doesn't matter what you eat as long as you stay within your kind of like calorie guidelines. And then the last one is protein. So if you are wanting to flexibly diet, what I tend to do with my clients is I give you a protein minimum that you need to hit every day, and then a calories maximum. As long as you fall between those two, you should still see results with it. The reason behind this is most people undereat on protein. So the equation I gave in the group earlier was it's 1 gram per pound, but person on person, I will tend to mix that up a little bit. Some people need a little bit more, some people need a little bit less. All depends on how much protein you're already eating. So for example, a 70 kilo individual at a gram per pound is going to be looking at 160 grams of protein per day. They're only eating 60 grams of protein. Going from 60 to 160 in one big jump is going to really, really upset their digestive system. So for that person, it might go from 60 up to 100, and then it might jump up to 120, and then 140, and then 160 within, say, 3 to 6 months' time. But we'd factor it in on what is realistically achievable kind of for that person. Again, this is where having somebody who has done this for other people before helps, because I can make these suggestions on how to make these transitions easier. So there's more than one way to figure these out. There's dozens of equations out there that figure these things out for you. However, that equation I gave you this morning has got a few assumptions in there. It assumes you want to be in a calorie deficit, so it won't work if you're trying to build muscle. It's only if you're going to be wanting to burn fat. It assumes you are moderately active, so your activity level is around the 8 to 10,000 steps per day mark. And it assumes you fall within a normal weight range, so your BMI falls below 30, which is what the average person does. However, if it is above 30, say for example, if you are that 100 kilo individual, but you have a body fat percentage of 40%, if we did your 1 gram per pound in terms of protein, you're going to be eating 225 grams of protein. Now that is a lot of protein to be ingesting in one day for somebody who has at 40%, who has 60 kilos of muscle mass. Whereas you might have a 70 kilo individual that's got 15% body fat. So similar amounts of muscle mass underneath that frame would be eating then nearly 150, 160 grams of protein. So as you can see, that equation gets thrown off with quite high body masses. So if you want to know the details from this equation that I've shown you today without using a pen and paper, make sure to take advantage of the free consultation that you get if you make it to the end of all these webinars. Finally, it's how to adjust. So number one is get some accountability. So find somebody to hold you accountable. It could be a coach. If you invest and pay for somebody to hold you accountable, you are 10 times more likely to achieve your goal. It doesn't have to be. If you can't afford coaching, find somebody who you know, love, and trust. However, do not make it your significant other. It's one of the worst decisions you can make. Decisions about food are quite emotionally charged, and when they come from your significant other, it's very easy to see it as a personal attack, and it always ends in arguments. Every single time I've had somebody use their significant other as their accountability partner, it doesn't end well. That's from personal experience as well as working with clients. So try and find somebody who you respect, but you won't take it personally if they call you out on your bullshit, basically. And then the question you want to be asking is, are you making progress? Are you losing 1% body weight per week? If the answer is yes, keep it the same until it stops working. If the answer is no, you need to alter one of the variables. So either more steps, more cardio, or less food. That is essentially coaching in a nutshell. The difference is when you work with a coach, they've probably helped more people get to where you want to be, and therefore they've been through the struggles with them for themselves as well as others, and will know how to overcome those obstacles for you. So hopefully that has been insightful. I'm sorry that I missed the original webinar. I probably went into some more detail when there was more people and there's some questions. If you do have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. We will be talking about food tomorrow. So energy dense versus nutrient dense food, how to do flexible dieting, and the fact that you can eat whatever you want, you just can't eat everything that you want.